Today's show is brought to you in part by today's sponsor, your local Metro Detroit Best Choice Roofing. In my mind, there is one choice for roofing around here, and I'd go with your best choice. Whether it's time to replace your roof or repair it, Best Choice Roofing provides top-notch roofing services tailored to meet the unique needs of Detroit homes and businesses. They serve the region and inside the city of Detroit, too. Find out more at bestchoiceroofing.com/Detroit. That's bestchoiceroofing.com/Detroit. Or call 313-474-7031. That's 313-474-7031. Hey friends, I'm Jer Stays. It is Wednesday, October 16th, 2024. And today, we are going to take a look back and a look forward at the Detroit Tigers. Joining me at the Daily Detroit studio in Techtown is none other than friend of the show, huge Tigers fan and follower of baseball, Robin Runyan. It's been a minute. It's so good to see you.
Thank you, Jer. It's so good to see you too. And I'm so happy to come on here and talk about one of my favorite things in the world.
I will say that you look resplendent today.
Thank you. I proudly wear my Tigers gear.
100%. You even brought the towel.
I did bring my towel, my rally towel that I got at Wednesday's game last week.
So that's a fresh rally towel, because I have one of the rally towels from the playoffs. I actually saved it somewhere from like the last time we were in the playoffs. And let me tell you, it's a little long in the tooth.
Yeah, I think I have one too from 2014 that's not looking too good.
So I think we'll approach this from a couple of angles. I want to approach it from the vibes angle, from the team angle, look at this a few different ways. You went to some games, you were downtown as well. Just on the outside as a fan, it feels like the energy, at least in this last back section, was so much better this year. And when people look at me like I'm crazy, that like being a Tigers fan can be fun, this is what I mean, Well,
it's been a while. It really has been a while since we've had truly fun baseball in the city. And once they started going, in September, they were winning and it was like a possibility. And some of my friends from around the country started texting me, like, what's going on over there? Is this going to happen? And, it just kept building and building. Jarrett, we deserve this. We have been, so patient, way too patient, quite honestly, with this team and the management. It's been a really, really great month and a half here in Detroit.
So gut check, be honest with me. Mm-hmm. Did you think they were done? When they were at the 0.2% chance of going to the playoffs, did you think they were done, or were you holding out hope?
I will be honest, it hadn't really crossed my mind that they would ever have a chance. I went to very few games this year compared to other years. I usually go to 5 or 6. I hadn't gone to a game. The first one was the first weekend of August, to be honest. It's just been a really weird year for me. But the game I went to was the Jim Leland retirement ceremony game, which was the best, the best until, late September. It didn't even cross my mind that we would be here at all.
Once Flaherty went out, that's when I was done. I was like, well, nothing's going to happen here. I just abandoned ship at that point. Although now it sounds like we should have kept him.
Well, he's still playing.
That's true. This vibe and this energy, and you saying that fans deserve this, I think this is part of what frustrates me to a degree with ownership so often, because I feel like this could have happened some years ago with a little bit of investment and a little bit of focus.
You think? Yeah, it could have. And, I think we all expected it to, and it never amounted to much.
Off air, we were talking about nostalgia and some of our weird things. So for me, with the teams left in the playoffs, I'm going to root for the Mets because I have a friend who's really into the Mets, Steve Freese, who's on the show. And I cannot bring myself to root for the Dodgers ever because they left Brooklyn. And I think the way that went down is terrible. And I wasn't even alive for this. I am not a New Yorker. But on principle, I cannot root for the Dodgers. And so I'm going to go be a Mets fan. It made me think about nostalgia and how important it is with baseball.
Yeah. A few things here. I wish that both the Yankees and Cleveland could lose, because I hate them both.
How mad are you that we lost to the Guardians?
I can't even, Jared. It's the worst. There were two things that upset me during this whole run. One was that we lost to Cleveland. I mean, that just burns. Any other team would have been whatever, but Cleveland was just not great. And the other thing that pissed me off was when they clinched the title and they were having the big celebration in the clubhouse, and I saw like Chris Ilitch celebrating with them. I was not cool with that. I am not a fan of his, as anybody who knows me knows that. And he's done a lot against the team in the past 10 years.
So why is it that you have like this specific animus against Chris and this, what that has to do with the team in general?
Yeah. Well, with the team. Okay,
bring the receipts. As far as there's also the whole District Detroit conversation, which is the development side when you come on the show. But today is mostly about the Tigers.
Yeah. I mean, I think after like 2016, around that time, people were like, okay, we're in a rebuilding mode. So you would expect, a few years that things are going to get tough. It's been 8 years. We're not supposed to rebuild for that long. We kept Al Avila around. The day that Al Avila was let go was like my phone blew up more than any other day.
But you know what? Mike passed on in 2017, his dad. And I just, unpopular opinion, I don't feel like Chris has the same feeling about spending money that Mike did as far as like making the team go. And that's the thing, is it's ever since Mike passed on 2017, it just hasn't been the same until this year.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't think Chris cares about sports that much.
Even though he owns both these teams.
Yeah, no. Like, what have the teams done in the past 10 years? We haven't seen it. So I didn't like seeing him there. I didn't think that, I think bringing on Scott Harris was great. I think he's like just fresh energy that we need to kind of turn things around and put things in the right place to make a winning team, as we've seen this year.
Are there any nostalgia things that you hold on to?
Well, absolutely. Like, baseball is deeply rooted in nostalgia, and that's one thing I love about it. I have a scrapbook that my grandma made in 1984 for the Tigers, and it's something like, if my house was on fire, I would grab that. It was newspaper clippings, all these things. I love it. And baseball is like that. You hold on to these things for so long. And I go to a lot of games. I've been to so many games. I love the 84 Tigers. I love the 2006 Tigers. I love the 2012, 2013 Tigers. But we need new highlights. We have a team now, and that's why it's so great to see them win, because we keep seeing the same things recycled over and over again.
This is why I get a little bit tired of the idea. I am happy that we had a better season than we expected, and that's a good thing. But I think that this needs to be the beginning of better expectations. I think we should have better expectations for our sports teams across the board, because I believe Detroit is an amazing sports town. I remember, we're of an age, we remember the Bad Boys and the Pistons and the Tigers, and the Lions are a new thing, but there is so much energy, and especially here in a region where we're so spread apart by distance, by whatever. Sports is one of the things that brings us all together,
Yeah, and one weird thing about this whole playoff run was that, you could feel the excitement around the city and watching the teams. And usually playoff baseball is super stressful. It is like pitch by pitch. You are. I
remember being at the ballpark the last playoff run, and I was at the edge of my seat feeling sick.
Yeah. And I felt, aside from the end of the first wild card game, that was a little bit stressful when we almost lost it. But all in all, it just felt like this playoff run wasn't very stressful, because they didn't really have anything to lose, because we weren't supposed to be here. It was just so unexpected. I was just enjoying them having fun and playing the game. And it wasn't like these big home runs. It was just getting on base and then getting on the next base and scoring runs. This is how these guys do it. And it was fun.
I actually like that brand of baseball. I know that I am in the minority of that, right?
Oh, I love it.
But I think that kind of baseball is a lot of fun. Of course, everyone loves a good home run and whatever, but that more strategic baseball I really enjoy. And I am a traditionalist, but it's weird for me, because for some things that I'm nostalgic and traditional about are different than others. I don't really care that they made the bases bigger. Great, sure, do that. It doesn't bug me in any way, shape, or form. I've seen a lot of people be upset about stuff like that. For me, as long as kind of the core of the game is there, That's what I get excited about. That through storyline, through decades, and at this point, centuries for the league, and especially for Detroit, because like Detroit is one of like the original American League teams. To me, this is like the cornerstone. In a lot of ways, the Old English D is our unofficial city flag. Right. Like you can't use it as one because you will get sued till till tomorrow. But this is one of the reasons why friendly gas stations that have the Old English D that's exactly the Tigers, you might want to adjust that. But that is the thing, is like everyone says, oh, well, the city of Detroit flag and whatever. And even our logo echoes the city of Detroit flag. But in reality, a lot of like the icon of Detroit is the Tigers English D.
Yeah. And one of the great things, kind of getting back to vibes, and you could see that kind of traditional aspect coming out in the games that I went to. So I went to the Wednesday night game of the last week of the regular season. And so we hadn't clinched yet. My friend, Mickey Lyons, friend of the podcast, we went out to eat before the game. And there was a guy at the bar who had driven 4 hours to go to a Wednesday night game. Like, this is crazy. Like this, you don't see that very often. The ballpark was packed and everybody was into it and everybody stayed until the end of the game. It was awesome.
Didn't they set some attendance records too?
Oh, yeah. So I went to the first playoff game last Wednesday, and it was a Wednesday 3:00 game. There were a bunch of guys who brought their kids. That was really cool, Jared. Like, it was really cool to see dads with their kids there. I thought I was going to lose my voice, but the kid 2 seats down from me, I'm shocked he didn't lose his because he was like yelling so much. And that was playoff baseball too, though. It was pitch by pitch. Everybody paying attention. Nobody getting up. They were chanting players' names. Whoever was up to bat, everybody was chanting their names. Everybody was so into it. That was fun baseball. I've gone to so many games, and at least these 2 were the most fun that I've had in a long time. I also went to the last regular season game. That one wasn't so fun, losing to the White Sox, but it happens. It's a long season.
I'm glad that they put some money into Comerica Park. I'd like to see some more things happen, but nothing's better than a winning game.
Right. And I will say this about, I know they made a big deal at the beginning of the season about the big giant scoreboard, like bigger than whatever scoreboard ever.
Yeah, it's all screen edge to edge, like with an irregular size screen, yeah.
Very hard to find useful information on that big screen. Like, seriously, I'm looking all the time, and I have some ideas for the guys if they want it. I have a lot of ideas for them, actually.
Well, I had went to a minor league ballpark, and I was feeling terrible because their minor league ballpark had so much better of a quality screen than we did. I did not expect us to just like make the whole thing a screen, because like I understand the need of having a video screen and all that other stuff. I loved watching the historic game at Rickwood Field because I love that old style baseball thing. I love how the Cubs still have the manual scoreboard. Like, to me, that's baseball. I wanted to see a screen improvement. I wanted to see something that didn't look like a leftover from like the 2000s, like one of those LCD TVs that kind of doesn't look right anymore. That's what it looked like before. I did not expect it to be like a wall of media information that honestly did feel a little like overwhelming in design.
One suggestion for the team that I noticed, because it was the Wednesday night game, the last regular season week, and I was watching scores of other games because we hadn't clinched yet. And I expected to see scores of other games up somewhere because they used to have them up, I think, on the back wall of the outfield. So, like, when they announced that Minnesota was losing, everybody cheered. We would have known that also if they would have had the stupid score up like they used to.
Well, it's all a screen, so you could just change it as you need be. So if we're in that kind of situation, make a little thing, make it look like an old-timey board, and there you go.
You know what I learn when I see that screen is that Spencer Torkelson was born on my 21st birthday, and that's something, Jer, I'm never going to get over. I'm just never going to get over it.
I like to use the term veteran young guy.
Yeah.
Right? Like, we still have energy in us, but we've got a little bit more experience.
He's one of the older guys on the team. That's awful.
Let's talk about the club itself and the baseball, because I know you're a fan, but I also know you avidly follow the club, as do I. Mm-hmm. I think this is the time to invest. If you need proof that we've got the base to do something, you have it here. But what I'm definitely afraid of is that Chris Ilitch looks at this thing and goes, well, we could just moneyball this thing. It'll be fine. We could just keep going. That is a recipe for disaster. I don't believe, grit and luck can happen, and that can be like, oh, we've got a good base of something. But I'm going to be very upset if there aren't some major changes. I'm also kind of annoyed that it doesn't look like we're going to shoot Javi Baez into Chicago or some other state that's not Michigan.
Yeah, I'm really conflicted about him because obviously he's not done what we expected him to do in Detroit. And
I just don't think he's a fit here. I don't know if he's necessarily
he is either. I mean, they say that people like him in the clubhouse and everything. He just needs to prove himself. He just needs to prove that he's the player that he was.
You can be liked, but that doesn't mean you're a fit to do the job here.
Right. We need the guy that we signed.
Yeah.
Basically.
So what are your thoughts on that as far as what you saw in the playoffs and what you saw with the team? I don't think that we can stand pat because I don't want to count on what happened this year happening again.
Yeah, no, and it's not going to. And I think most people know this, and people, close to Illich hopefully just convince him to invest.
I know there are listeners that are in that organization. I know that you exist, and I love you all.
Because pitching chaos is fun for a couple weeks, but it's not something sustainable. So we obviously need 2 or 3 starting pitchers. Another thing that kind of irritated me. So the last game against Cleveland, Skubal gave up some runs and it was awful. And I saw some people on social media say not great things about it. Dude had 1 bad inning. I would say all season. Do not put this on him because we need bats. We need guys to put up runs for him, and our team cannot do that. That's what else we need. We need some starting pitchers, and we need guys who can hit a home run or 2. I
was appalled at people who said that we needed pitching first, and I'm like, we need all of it. We're not there yet.
Yeah.
Because I just think that wouldn't it be so good for fans, for downtown Detroit, for the businesses, if we could just be in the hunt most of the time? And get to the playoffs and actually have a chance at it? Because, here's the thing. Just being realistic, even if we had squeaked by the Guardians, I think we would have it would not have been pretty in the ALCS. Anything's possible. But in the championship series against, say, the Yankees, I know what they can do. I hate them, but I know what they can do.
Yeah, it was hard to see it going as far as we wanted it to, basically. Yeah. And I think as far as businesses go, I watched some of the other games, like the first game against Cleveland. It was at 1:00 on a Saturday. I watched from a dive bar in Ferndale. When we got there were a few people there, but within 15 minutes it was packed. It was just packed full of people.
So not even just downtown?
No. And, downtown, last Thursday, I was going to a concert Thursday night at the Fox. We went to Bookies beforehand to watch the start of the game. It was packed. It was packed full of people upstairs and downstairs. And there were so many people just out that night. You could just feel the energy in the air. We need this. We just need this. We need this for the Tigers. We need it for the Red Wings. I don't know about the Pistons. I don't really follow basketball, but
wow. So Bookies, you know what? Bookies been around a long time. Do you remember when they were in the Book Tower? Where La Supreme used to be where Bookies was, and that's why they were called Bookies.
Okay, well, that makes sense.
There was a reason for that. I remember when a car crashed into there, because somebody was speeding down Grand River and didn't make the turn. Mm-hmm. That was the time. There was I remember a lot of Top Golf machines. That was the vibe.
Okay.
The vibe back then. All right. Where do we want to see things next year? What are your hopes? What is your expectation, or what do you want to see? Would you be disappointed if we're not back here next year?
Probably, but we have to keep in mind that the AL Central was really good this year.
It was supposed to be trash.
We had 3 teams going for a long time. Who called that? Nobody. Twins kind of lost it at the end there. So my expectations at the beginning of this season were to stay around 500. That's what I thought the team could do. But now we kind of have a bigger job on our hands. We have to keep up the energy and win a lot more games against a really hard division.
Let's look at baseball in general. What was one of your favorite moments this season of Major League Baseball?
Well, it happened the other night, actually, when I was painting my office, and I had the game on in the other room. I've heard in the past that the Dodgers have a great organ player, and I trust that, but they played Enjoy the Silence, which marries my 2 favorite things in life, which are baseball and Depeche Mode. I was very, very happy. I'm really happy if the Mets make it to the World Series because they've had to come back a lot this year. I'm fine with the Dodgers, going if that happens because they have Shohei and everything.
So it's anybody but the Yankees.
Anybody but the Yankees or Cleveland, yeah. And I understand that one of those two teams will be in there. I just don't like either of them at all.
I feel like reawakened. My Tigers fandom had been left a little dormant, and then I was able to dig out my orange sweatshirt and my Tigers hat and feel like I can be back in it again. Because, 9-10 years of doldrums really wears on you.
Oh, yeah. And I'll tell you, my nails are all navy blue now, but before they were blue and orange, and it was very festive for a couple weeks there.
I wouldn't expect anything less from you, Robin Runyan. It's so good to talk to you. I'm sure we'll talk development, some other things another time, but thank you for stopping by. I appreciate you.
Thank you for having me, Jer.
And that's it for your Daily Detroit. Look, I've got 2 favors to ask of you. Number 1, leave 5 stars on your favorite podcast app if you have not already. It really helps the show. Number 2, tell a friend about the show. It is the best way to push Detroit's conversation forward. With that, I'm Jer Stays. Thank you so much for listening. Remember that you are somebody, and we'll talk tomorrow.